We all dream of having a happy retirement, but unfortunately, it doesn't happen automatically. We have to be proactive and do things to make sure that our transition is smooth and we enter a new life that we love and that we enjoy. I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years. I've helped guide hundreds of people into retirement. And these are three things that I've seen people do in their 50s in order to transition smoothly and happily into retirement. So let's go for a little walk and let's talk about it. I'm here in Costa Rica. I've got the jungle behind me. I've got the beach in front of me. It's a beautiful setting. This is what I dreamt of for retirement. But just like my clients, I have to transition. I have to do things in order to have a happy retirement. So what are the three things? The first one, and it's going to sound funny to a lot of folks, but it's difficult to transition from being a saver into a spender. And most folks that are thinking about retiring in their 50s or early 60s, retiring a little bit early, are people that have been good savers. And if that's you, I want you to think about starting to flex your spending muscle. Again, it's hard to transition from saver to spender, and it's not going to happen at the flick of a switch. You have to plan for it. Yeah, it's a mental transition. And it's a lot easier to do this, to start doing this in your 50s than to wait until you retire and hope you can flip the switch. Because I can tell you, having seen hundreds of people do this, it's not going to happen. So there's a couple ways to do this. One is to just start saving a little bit less. If you're saving 15 or 20% of your salary, I want you to think about cutting back on that a couple percentage points. But the important thing is I want you to think about spending that on things that bring you joy, not necessarily stuff, but on maybe a trip with people that you love, that you care about, on experiences and memories and adventures, and also on your health, because health is much more important than our wealth. I've seen people lose their health in retirement and it changes things instantly. You go from worrying about money oftentimes to worrying about, staying alive. How much longer do you have? And are you going to be able to beat whatever health issue that you're dealing with? Which brings up the second point, which is that people that I see transition into a happy retirement, they place an importance on their health. They're willing to invest the time. They're willing to invest the money, not just in going to the gym and working out, not just, going to places like this in order to relax and jog on the beach, but also on how we eat. And frankly, the battle for our health is fought every bit as hard in the kitchen as it is in the gym. In fact, at least for me, the kitchen part of it is the harder part of it. So item number 2 is the focus on your health. If you can do that in your 50s, your 60-year-old self, I'm now 60. My 60-year-old self thanks myself that I really started to focus in my late 40s on my health. I'd always worked out, but I faced an increase in importance in my health in my late 40s, frankly, because I had the vantage point of helping other people retire and seeing what happens when they lose their health. Before I transition from this, I do want to share, unfortunately, the average American loses their health, according to the World Health Organization, at just 66.1 years old. That's 13 months after when the average American retires. And most of us want a heck of a lot more than 13 months. But even if we're lucky, even if we get 20 years of healthy retirement, that's just 1,000 weeks, 20 years. So how do you want to spend your 1,000 weeks? And be proactive about it. Okay, the next one, and this is really key, is relationships. Having relationships outside of work. Now, I'm going to give you another one that's related to work here in a minute, but let's stick on relationships first. A lot of us have some good relationships at work. Mea culpa. I had some great friends at work. And, we saw each other. Frankly, I saw them more than I saw my family because we were at the office together 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. And we shared a common mission. So we had that in common. But you know what? When you retire, they're still good people. You're still going to enjoy hanging out with them, but you're no longer going to share a common mission with them. They're no longer going to sit at the desk next to you or down the hallway. So, so coming up with friends outside of work is critically important. The number one activity for retirees, I don't want this for myself, and I don't think you want it for yourself. Most people replace their job with watching television. The average retiree spends, I believe the number's 38 hours a week watching television. And I don't think any of us are thinking, hey, I want to retire so I can watch more television. Frankly, the less television that I watch, the better. So that's the third one. Now, I said that there's another item related to our jobs that are really important, and that is, for 20, 30, 40 years, we have not had to think a lot about what is my purpose in life outside of work. Now, many of us have, right? Many of us, our families are really important to us, where we have a hobby that we're really passionate about, or we're involved in our church or a charity. So many folks have, unfortunately, many folks have not. And at least for men, I hate to be gender biased, but what I've seen is it tends to be more of a challenge for men. We default, we autopilot, we have a purpose, so we don't look hard outside of our jobs. And that can be a rude awakening when we retire, because at first it's going to feel like this vacation, right? I just finished the first 6 months of my retirement, so I'm still in the honeymoon phase of my retirement. But I know that there's 4 stages to transitioning into retirement. And the first phase, the honeymoon phase, is really fun. And the last phase, I think that's chakra for, no, this would be chakra for surfing. But the last phase, the fourth phase, is fun. But there's 2 phases that most of us are going to go through. And the second phase is this feeling of loss. And I think I came to terms with that before I retired. Actually, when I told my boss I was going to retire, when I told my company I was going to retire, candidly, I choked up. The thought of not being a part of that work family was difficult for me. But I knew that 65-year-old Azul would be glad that 59-year-old Azul had the courage to start making that transition. So I think in some ways I've already gone through the loss phase, which is the second phase. The third phase is the iterating phase, where we try some things, some new things, some hobbies, things like that. Frankly, my new hobby is YouTubing and doing things like that, and giving back. It's my way to give back. It's my way of feeling like, hopefully in my own little way, I'm making the world a better place. On that topic, if you haven't subscribed, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. It does help me grow my channel. But figuring out what that purpose is, and give yourself the freedom to meander. The first 2 or 3 things you try may not be that purpose. And then the fourth phase is you've transitioned into your new life. And at least 3/4 of my clients, probably 80% plus of my clients, look back and said, I wish I had done this sooner. Once they found that new purpose, once they found their new friends, once they had the time for their health. So the decision on when to retire is really important. And it's why I made this video here. Why waiting to 65 to retire might be a big mistake. I'll see you in that video. Bye-bye.